displaying the glory of God's creation by exploring America one park at a time. Welcome to Parking Full Time with Big Dave, the parks professor. First hole. The par and distance are at the top of the screen. This hole plays slightly downhill and it's a slight dogleg right. Coming up here you see the main park entrance road. Points on and to the right of that park road are out of bounds on this hole. So you have to keep your disc to the left. You have to use this narrow strip of mowed grass off to the left. And that definitely brings the dense woods off to the left into play, but again, you have to stay in that mowed grass in order to stay in bounds. I want to welcome you back to Parking Full Time. I am Big Dave, the parks professor. We are at Nichols Green Park. We are on the south side of Jacksonville, Texas, and therefore we are in East Texas. You can see here just how narrow this strip of mowed grass is that you have to stay in. There's the first basket. And there's the view back to the tee from behind the basket. The second hole also plays across the park entrance road, but the road is directly in front of the tee and therefore it's not the big safety hazard here that it was on the first hole. This hole is a dogleg left, and it doglegs around some dense woods off to the left. You definitely don't want to throw into those woods. That would be a very tough recovery and maybe a lost disc. But there's plenty of room out to the right to allow you to maneuver your disc. A good throw with a right to left disc flight should get you up near the basket and set up a birdie opportunity. There's the basket, and there's the view back to the tee from behind the basket. The third hole starts out in this little corner of the clearing, and you play out of this little chute of woods. But once you get out of that chute, this hole is completely open, it's completely flat, and honestly, it's really boring. Every hole on this course has two tees, a long tee and a short tee, and those are the two distances that I'm giving you at the top of the screen. All of these video clips start at the long tee, so we are seeing the entire distance for every hole. The park road you see behind the basket is the same one we saw on the first two holes. That is the last time we'll see that park road, although we'll see some other blacktop walking trails as we walk about the rest of the course. The fourth hole is another fairly open hole. You can see some patches of dense woods start to encroach on either side. But the fairway on this hole is still plenty wide, and if you can throw it far enough, you have a pretty good chance of making birdie on this hole. I captured this video on Sunday, February 23rd, and it was a really wet and slightly chilly day with temperatures in the low 50s when I came here. I came here right after they had gotten basically a week of solid rain, and you can see some wet areas on this course, but overall the course was in pretty good shape considering the weather. There's the view from behind the basket back to the tee. Hole number 5 is the first hole on which the woods pose a real threat. You want to aim at the lightly colored tree directly ahead and use a slight left to right disc flight in order to get on line with the basket. Now I mentioned they had gotten a week of solid rain before I came here. The wettest area on this course was actually in the middle of the 5th fairway, and you're going to see it up ahead and we're going to jump over it momentarily. I thought it strange that this area was so wet because this is nowhere near the lowest point on the course, but the water collected where it did. There's a sharp drop off to the right and behind this basket, so you don't want to miss right or long on this hole. To get to the 6th tee, you have to walk downhill behind the basket, turn left on the asphalt walking trail, and walk a couple hundred feet along the walking trail. That's the only real route finding issue I had on this course. The 6th hole is the most heavily wooded hole on this course. It's a dogleg left and there are several large trees that you have to maneuver around. You could go to the right or to the left of those trees. The line to the left is a straighter line and requires a slightly less curve on your right to left disc flight. There's quite a bit of underbrush on this hole, and there are also quite a few small trees up here by the basket. So there's a course maintenance issue here. I could like this hole if it were trimmed back and cleared out a little bit, but I don't like it as is. There's the view back to the tee. The 7th hole is the inverse of the previous hole. This hole plays gradually downhill, and it's a dogleg right. It plays through this little chute or tunnel of trees, and this tunnel used to be a lot bigger than it is now. I could like this hole if the trees were opened up to make the tunnel a little bit bigger. As is, it's definitely challenging, but maybe not challenging in a fun way. As we get through the tunnel, we get around the dogleg, and now it's a clear and easy throw to the basket. I would note that there's plenty of woods off to the left that are currently unused, so there's definitely room for them to add more holes to this course if they see fit to do that in the future. I'm having to walk slowly and carefully here because this area was on the muddy side when I came here due to the recent rains. There's the view from behind the basket back to the tee. The 8th hole is the longest hole on this course. It plays across the paved walking trail several times, and I did see several walkers on this trail when I came here, so you definitely have to check for walkers before you throw. Even though this hole is really long, it's actually very open, and it's the only par 4 on this course, so if you can throw it far enough, you should have a pretty good chance at birdie on this hole. I do want to thank you for watching. Parking full time would not be anything without the people who watch. I realize that every day, and I heartily thank you every day. Also, as a reminder, I do not make any monetary compensation for anything that I do for this project, and so the only thing that I get for making these videos and writing these course reviews are your likes, your subscribes, your views, and your comments, and I do appreciate all of those things. We're finally approaching the basket. A lot of the holes on this course are longer, but not necessarily any better than you would find at a typical 9-hole community park course. In particular, this hole and the 3rd hole, in terms of design, are probably the 2 worst holes on this course. There's the view back to the tee. The 9th hole is the last hole on this course. It starts by playing directly across this wide open field, but once you get close to the basket, there are several large clusters of dense trees right by the basket. So the strategy is you want to chuck it as far as you can with your tee shot across this field, and then just find some way to get around the clusters of trees to get to the basket. Honestly, I hope you've made some birdies earlier because 3 is a pretty good score on this hole. Overall, this course is okay. It's got some maintenance issues, and it's got a couple of poorly designed holes. It is the only disc golf course in Jacksonville, Texas, and there's definitely plenty of room and unused woods around here where you could route a really good course through here. It's just that what's here right now, it's a passable 9-hole community park course, but that's really about it. Here's the basket, and you can see what I mean by threading your way through the clusters of trees to get to the basket. And there's the view back to the tee. That's the end of the course. Have a great afternoon, take care, and Lord bless.